Welcome into the PPC qualifiers. It has been 3 grueling weeks for all these players to make it now finally to the group stages where we actually get to see who's going to be playing in that PPC all year long afterwards. So my name is Finch. I'm joined here on the desk, the Consortium of Knowledge, the Bomb King set, whatever it is you want to call it, by Kresnik. Happy to have you with me, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. I'm super excited to see this because this is going to be a day that kind of sets the tone for literally months to come for the PPC.
You're exactly right. I mean, I think it would be hard to make too big a deal of this day and how important that these matches are because only some teams are going to be able to make it out of this into the actual PPC. So let's take a look at that schedule here first. These are the matches that we're actually going to take a look at today. Obviously, this is not all of the matches that are going to be happening, but we'll be updating you throughout the day about the ones that we're not looking at too. So we're starting out in Europe. We're going to look at 2 sets from there. Then we're going to move on to Brazil, and we're going to close the day out with North America. But as I said, don't worry, we're going to be updating you all throughout that process the entire time. So let's take a look at those group standings as well. As you can see, it is going to be split up into 2 groups in each region. So we'll be starting off in Group A, first things first. And this is a pretty tough group in Group A here in Europe. I think Europe is probably the closest region, I don't know, out of all 3, Kresnik. It looks really tight.
It's super stacked. I mean, just looking at Group A at the bottom, Sour Team, a team that was taking maps every week coming up to week 3 where they finally did manage to qualify. So even just having that talent all the way stacked through, it's going to be really competitive, I think, from top to bottom. And the first match, Rosvet versus ChromaSpace, I think will show that too. Chroma, the only team to take a map off of District 69 in week 1.
Yeah.
And Rosvet, I think, making it decently far in the bracket, losing out to Flashpoint in the end, but still taking down some strong teams on the way week 1.
I think so too. This is not going to be an easy path for anybody to make it through, and I really think we are starting off with a bit of a very close match to begin with. I don't know if I would necessarily say that either of these teams are the teams you immediately think of as like the top in Europe, but I do expect it to be a very, very competitive match, as you said, between Rosvet and ChromaSpace. This first matchup that we're going to be looking at. Is there anywhere in particular that you think that you would want to look at to try and have an idea of how this match is going to be going in particular? Any matchup that you're keeping your eye on?
I mean, not matchup-wise, but map-wise, I don't want them to go to Brightmarsh.
Okay.
If you're Rosvet and you don't ban Brightmarsh, I don't know what you're doing against
ChromaSpace
this team.
makes the comeback there or something, right? It
They just win
happen.
it. They beat District 69 on it. It's the only map.
It didn't look like they were going to. We were like, all right, let's get Brightmarsh over, and then we remembered halfway through, oh yeah, they just win this. By the way.
Exactly. And I don't know. For ChromaSpace, I'm definitely looking to see. I want to see the main tank perform. Ovimm has done great, but he's going to need to keep that up, his historical performance, I think, if he wants his team to do that. Main tank is a pretty pressured role, I would say, in this current meta. You have to be under so much fire from these strong back lines or these flankers that are wrapping around you. You have to know when to back up. So I think a lot of pressure on the main tanks for both teams to be able to rotate around their own team.
Well, it sounded like it was Splitstone. I think that was the one that we're going to be taking care of here first. You just saw the map bans come up here as well. I know you were talking a little bit about Ovimm. He's going to be going up against Overlord, I suppose, specifically in that main tank role, too. And you're right, there is sort of a lot that's kind of fallen down to that role. I mean, it's not quite triple deeps where they put so much on just that one guy, right? But still,
prayers for Wadu, by the way, about that.
Yeah, not easy for him to try and handle that. But still, it does feel like a lot of the responsibility sort of falls to you, finding your spot on the actual point, finding some time and trying to help out with the backline too. It's a lot of responsibility that falls down to that role.
Yeah, and you have to know when to rotate off, I think, is the biggest thing, because otherwise you just stand there
and you're a target.
You're holding, and then they just fight around you. They win a 5v4 because you're so focused on getting that objective time. So you got to know when to rotate. You
got to make sure that you are playing that role at a high level if you want to make it into the actual PPC. So let's get ready for the picks and bans for this very first map. It was indeed Splitstone's quarry that we're heading to for this very first map, and Furia is already removed. That's no surprise to me. Usually what we see is Furia and Jenos both taken off the board, and you don't have to rush whoever that next support is in most of those cases. But it looks like that's not quite the case here. Furia and Ruckus taken off the table. We'll see if whether a second ban chooses to go, and it's Rom taken away. So we'll see if maybe that Jenos does get prioritized.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too shocked to see it go early, but some teams are also kind of falling off on it. The damage boost is huge, but teams just want their sustain sometimes. They just want to be able to keep themselves alive. And Barik, speaking of the main tank for ChromaSpace, Barik going to be able to keep themselves alive. He has so much self-sustain. And just for a note, this is not on the patch that went live yesterday. This is on the patch from before that. So all those nerfs to Barik's sustain are not there. He still has double time at the level it was, field deploy, all those cards that are going to be helping him tank through all this damage from a Luminary boosted Bomb King.
Not bad at all, right? BK paired with that Jenos. Not a bad way to start things off here for Rosvet at all. But it looks like ChromaSpace are going to make sure they've got this front line established. Barik and the Khan both picked up. And if you're able to play this Khan at a high level, then maybe you can kind of cut out some of that extra value from some of this backline. You can grab them quickly, get them in, and take care of them right away. I like this first 3 picks here from ChromaSpace, but I don't know, Jenos being BK is hard to argue with.
Yeah, especially inside that quarry side and having a Khan, BK is going to be able to detonate those bombs right over Khan's shield to make it really difficult for him to hold that side lane. And now with a double off-tank composition, this Khan, he'll be able to stun one, but if they both run it down on him, he can't stun them both.
His options certainly will be a bit limited. It's going to be Ying selected as the support. So I was wondering, ChromaSpace are the ones that ban the Furia away and then pass on Jenos, take this Barik first overall. So I was wondering where we were going to see them end up going next. Do you like the Ying pick here?
I think it's really solid. It's a good go button. With Furia banned, Furia has the Inflame as that, but Ying has
the real go button.
Ying has the supplementary one, the one that does it through raw healing, and Evie on this map is phenomenal. Used to be a almost mandatory pick, I would say. You can do have a lot of mobility with it. Going to be a lot of running away from that Androxus for sure. He can chase you down and do a ton of damage with that Cursed Revolver.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. Whose job is it to kind of keep tabs on this Andro, man, who's going to be kind of up with all that verticality, causing problems for this backline so often? They got to make sure they don't let him just kind of run wild this game.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot on the Viktor, but the Viktor also has to not get 1v1, so the Ying is going to have to balance from being up top and supporting the people that are fighting inside.
Well, game number one, ChromaSpace and Rosvet. Let's head on down to Splitstone Quarry.
Thank you very much, Finch. Game number one of set number one of 6 today. 6 best of 5s, 2 from each region. Starting off here in Europe on Splitstone Quarry. Goremizer joins me to call set number one of the day. And Gore, you look at the ChromaSpace lineup here, and it's kind of a battle of the win rates up to this point, where Viktor is yet to win over in Europe, and Evie is yet to lose.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which one of those can maybe pull themselves ahead. The problem is Viktor isn't, I mean, he's capable of carrying a game on his own, but a lot of it is just going to be supplementary damage. I expect him to finish off or set up a lot of kills for this Evie. And then it comes down to Dafit versus Adam, right? How exactly is this Evie going to be able to come through and show up? And who wins this side duel to be able to get back to the backline?
Yeah, and I think that Haise on this Bomb King, he's going to be Luminary boosted up. He's got a big role to play here as well. An early flank duel between Dafit and Adam. Does not go either way as the Evie's able to blink herself out alive. But ovimm, he's caught down in the corner. Rosvet, they find themselves the first blood in this game. Void Grip, that's going to counter out some of what Khan is looking to do some of this game, Gore, trying to stun out some of those priority targets, and Coireal, unfortunately, without that dash, he falls as well.
And you can see exactly what Kresnik was mentioning right there. Haise does it perfectly. Shield goes up, cool. I'm going to aim about 15 degrees higher now, and you're still going to die, and that's the bad part of Khan into this. Khan is still great. Vortex Grip is really good. His ult is really good, and that's what he's bringing. Yes, the heal can be solid as well, but against this Bomb King, I mean, they're just going to run him down.
ethèreal picks up the kill on ovimm. Rough start to this game for the Barik. Stun down goes Coireal. Haise finds the kill as well. 90% for Rosvet now on the point. 99. Nobody in range. ChromaSpace not there to contest. That's point number one on Splitstone. Convincing fashion for Rosvet.
I mean, with how the roster, I should say, for ChromaSpace is, you expect this to be close, but you kind of expect them to be driving everything, right? And it's just so interesting to see how off-kilter they are. I mean, they have not found a single footing to rest themselves on. ChromaSpace just now using that Ice Storm to try and stabilize a little bit, but it's not enough. I need more out of Adam, but the problem is that when it comes down to this trade against the Androxus is a little bit stronger so far. He's been hitting more shots.
Yeah, Dafit has been getting the better of that duel, and it's been a tough game for the front lines of ChromaSpace, and Haise is going to move his way right on through. Absolutely demolishes NELUBKA there as neppö falls as well. Into the flight there. Adam looking for the final shot, but Haise finds it instead. Poppy bombs backwards. 3 down for ChromaSpace as Rosvet continues to move forward.
And that's another thing to kind of look at here. It's not just Androxus who's been deadly to this Evie. Bomb King on his own can 2 to 3 tap her. Put a Luminary on that, and it's guaranteed 2 bombs to kill her. She only has 1,800 health. She's not going to live long if Haise decides to throw anything towards her, let alone a couple of autos. So he's going to be able to kind of run the show in that department. It just kind of feels like there's a lot of solid picks on ChromaSpace, but they picked them after their counter was available on the other side.
Yeah, Coireal has been doing his best to stay in and stay aggressive as 2 kills from Adam maybe stall out this push. Coireal on this Khan has been doing his best to move forward, find some stuns, lock down a few members of Rosvet, but he's immediately getting cleaned up upon dashing in. There's just not the same follow-up that you would hope for.
And honestly, I think the biggest thing is going to be what team wants to commit a little more to this push. I mean, PACCBET have a lot more that they can drop that I think will open up the door for them, whereas so far Barrage has already been used, but ChromaSpace might have to use more to hold this off.
We're going to have everything except for the King Bomb, and even that will charge up pretty quickly. ChromaSpace with 4 ultimates of their own. ovimm, they have to drop down that Dome Shield through time and space. Ice blocked out by Haise, but Coireal falls just the same, and so does Adam. Once that immunity wears out, good grenade around the corner. It's gonna grab the kill onto Dafit here. So you got a few members of ChromaSpace still pushing in. Dome Shield is used by ChromaSpace, and the respawns are gonna be closer from them here as well. Madaarra still working in the back line on that Makoa. He will be in range for this contest, but with Haise dropping, it becomes a lot more difficult. And now there's only 3 members left. This is looking like a good defense for ChromaSpace.
It's come down to a kill ovimm show. They're just trying to burn him down. If they can do that, they can keep this going, but it's so difficult with the respawn proximity here for ChromaSpace to keep him locked down.
That was an important, I think, defense to get yourself on the board after the way that first mid-fight went. You do spend the Dome Shield for it, and on the other side, through time and space, used a little bit previously, so not too much spent. That sort of answers your question. The Dome Shield was enough to kind of delay that push, but you still have some good ultimates going into this.
I would argue they're pretty lucky, ChromaSpace is, that was enough to delay it, because it was used a little early. Like, it was used in time to give you about 2-3 seconds left in the round before overtime started, which was plenty of time for ChromaSpace to be able to come back in and step their way onto that objective and keep it in overtime. If ovimm goes down there, if they didn't have respawn proximity, or if they had just slightly longer respawns, then ChromaSpace is looking at a 2-0 right now, and they're definitely not happy about it. But luckily, like you said, a good defense for them. This round, I think Coireal has to go big or go home.
He uses the dash just to get in range, but that's going to grab up that Makoa, and Madaarra finds his way back into the fidget spinner and the shielding just for a little bit of tech to stop himself from being stunned. Coireal's using these dashes just for a little bit of gap closing right now, maybe sensing a moment to get aggressive. They move through. Only 1 kill on the board so far in this round, but that's an overpower down.
It's using those iframes that he has during his shout, making sure that he's like, cool, I can be immune for a second, I get this heal off, I can come in. Not only being aggressive like you said, but making sure to zone out that Bomb King so he can't be as big of a role.
Well, I stand corrected. Illusory Rift was used at the beginning of the fight, and Coireal is not going to be able to battle shout off enough of that damage there. No fast cap for either team. 66% stalled out for ChromaSpace. These next few trades are going to be important. Dafit finds the first with still some kills on the menu for ChromaSpace here. 3 down. 2 members of ChromaSpace fully backpedaled. No ultimates up on either of them. Good shots as Dafit cleans it up. Coireal caught between a rock and a hard place. I guess that's anywhere here on Splitstone Quarry, but ChromaSpace, they regain control of this mid.
And as long as they can hold on to it, they're going to pass that 66%. But Dome Shield, it's coming up. I mean, 70%, it's going to be a long run to try and get that for the objective, especially if he gets burned down before he can even touch.
Yeah, this is tones of the early mid-fight where the front lines of ChromaSpace were just running in and getting cleaned up, and that's going to clear things up for ChromaSpace to grab their second point of this game. Dome Shield, as you point out, now starting to eclipse that 80%, so you will have it for the defense. But now you sort of wonder, was it worth using that on the defense? They may have been able to secure it, might have helped them out on this mid-fight, but as we've seen on Splitstone Quarry, defenses may be a little bit easier to come by.
It's definitely more defense-oriented. I mean, the entire map, the choke points lend themselves to the defense. There's a lot of high ground for the defense. Granted, it's attainable for the offensive team to be able to come forward and kind of take that away from you. A lot of it can be on the back of a Jenos. A good through time and space will absolutely seal the deal for you, but I'm looking at that King Bomb that hadn't been used yet this round, and that, I mean, that's a good, like, deal breaker, I guess, overall. It will absolutely make sure that payload moves forward, but this is a good time for ChromaSpace. Wipe, go back, spend anything and everything you have in terms of credits. Honestly, ChromaSpace need everything they can get, but that might hurt them more than help them.
This has been really a tale of 2 sides of this map for ChromaSpace, where the DPS between Evie and Viktor have been able to kind of free and clear fire away and get some kills on these defensive sides, but they just haven't been able to get involved in these mid-fights quite the same. And I guess it's good for ChromaSpace at least being able to keep themselves into this game, but if you're able to grab a defense here, which still remains to be seen if they're going to be able to. Adam looking to try to maybe clean up a kill onto Dafit. Madaarra does grab a kill onto Coireal. You're going to need this Viktor and this Evie to play a bigger role in the mid-fights.
Yeah, and I like where Viktor was a few seconds ago, about 30 seconds ago, where he was pressuring out the Bomb King. That's perfect for him. The problem is you end up in moments like that. He had to run away. Evie goes in, and then Evie's isolated. She waits too long for the wormhole to come back up, so she can't blink back. She's in danger. She's surrounded, and then you're just going to die. Now you're staggered out. The payload's moving. Yeah, it's 30 seconds left, but that's plenty of time at this angle.
These Void Grips have stalled out a lot of what Coireal's been attempting to do, and now with 2 down, make it 3 for ChromaSpace. You got a Viktor and a Ying for 4 more seconds till that con is back on the map. Payload very close. I'm not sure they're going to be able to jump down and contest this one. Rosfet roll this one through. Barrage used. He didn't use any of his charges, so he is still back up to 70%, and with that being a Viktor, is going to charge it pretty quickly. But this is what we've seen a lot out of Coireal in these mid-fights. He's using these dashes, if there's nobody in range, to just maybe position himself differently. And every once in a while, that maybe leaves him out of position with an escape needed.
Out of position with an escape needed, and we're not really seeing the whole point of Vortex script, which is I'm going to grab you and then stun you for 2 seconds afterward. Like, that's what's great about it. It forces resilience, and you can already see 3 on the side of Rosfet. You need more of those. You're obviously not as big a threat as you hope to be with this pick. If they're all at tier 1 for it, they don't feel pressured to purchase another high tier for it. So Coireal needs a bigger impact. He just needs to turn this around. This ult at the beginning can be great, but we saw that last round it didn't amount to much. He needs a follow-up after that.
Well, he's positioning himself much the same and does not use that Commander's Grab just yet this time. Rosfet has to be privy to it. Not going to connect on the overpower this time. Down to 30%. They do have 50% on the point. As Rosfet are going to maybe try to move themselves back in. Ice Storm dropped down, but ovimm falls this time. Haise getting aggressive. That's a Poppy Bomb forward. He's going to roll on through, grabs the kill onto the con. 3 members of ChromaSpace trying to turn tail and get back to base. Rosfet regain control of this mid-fight.
And just being able to push him back like that. I mean, Bomb King is aggressive. Barrage is coming out to try and buy back ground. But you have to buy back a lot to be able to get over there to the objective. No one's even close, and they're at 75%.
Through time and space, Ancient Rage and the Accursed Arm all ready for Rosfet if needed to secure this mid-fight. Blink in, blink out. Gets the overtime started, but they smartly move off through time and space. That connects. Adam goes down. 3 members of ChromaSpace cleaned up. A Dome Shield is just going to buy some time. But Ancient Rage, I think, puts the icing on this cake. Convincing Splitstone Corey from Rosfet grabs them win number 1.
Yeah, that 1 point being a defense, they had to use a Dome Shield to be able to hold on to it. ovimm just never got started there. And again, I think it's worth mentioning, as Kresnik pointed out, this is pre the nerfs to Barik, so he's still got a lot of self-sustain in it. Not that it was really something you could tell from that game. ovimm was just targeted out very early on, didn't have a lot of ground to stand on. Coireal, at the same note, wasn't able to do too much. I think the Luminary Bomb King, like the Jenos Bomb King double pickup, was perfect for them early on, because all of a sudden, hey, that con that you're going for doesn't really mean anything. I can go over his shield or around his shield if I need to.
Yeah, I think the post-game stats will reflect a tough day to be a frontliner there for ChromaSpace. And there were moments, I pointed it out kind of in that mid-game, where between neppö and Adam on the Viktor and the Evie respectively, they had kind of an impact on the defenses. But we never saw that much, and maybe some of that stems from the front line. Didn't quite get to see the full force of that ChromaSpace lineup. Great start there from Rosfet. They grab a 4-1 victory on Splitstone Corey. We'll see you for game 2 in just a minute.
Dominant map 1 from Rosfet there on Splitstone Quarry. Really didn't look like ChromaSpace were much in that one at all, but it is a best of 5, as you heard Dave talking about during the cast. So this certainly could get turned around. Still Finch here, still joined by Kresnik. Man, and what went wrong for them here? I mean, I felt like there were multiple areas where things didn't quite work out for ChromaSpace in this game. You heard him talk about it a lot. Felt like that front line kind of deteriorated right away. You wonder if giving up the Jenos Bomb King combination came back to bite them a bit too. That combo was really strong. What would you say?
Especially since they were playing inside the quarry so much. For me, I think it was a bit of a draft. Oh, wow, Coireal 1-12 in that game, struggling there on that side. And I feel like ChromaSpace started their draft by focusing on their tanks. They went Barik Con very early, and Rosfet started by focusing on their DPS. They got the Bomb King plus the Jenos. They got the Andy when they needed it, and having that pressure on both sides of the map made it too hard for anyone on ChromaSpace to really get kind of established. neppö did a ton of damage, but the pressure that Haise was putting out all the time with 1,000 damage bombs, shooting so quickly and being able to confirm through and around any shield that was put in his way, made it just too tough for ChromaSpace to hold anything.
It really did, yeah. That con was getting melted way too often, and then you can kind of see how important in Paladins it is when everyone is doing their role, because it made it so much harder for everyone else, right? Every time that con started to fall apart. But that wasn't the only place it felt like there was a bit of imbalance, right? These supports felt very different. You saw the Jenos Ying value come out very differently in this game, I would say, as well, too. So I think there were multiple areas where ChromaSpace were on the back foot basically the entire map.
Yeah, I think the fights were just ending too quickly for that Ying to really do anything, and she couldn't go anywhere close because either the Andy was on the side pressuring or the BK was just cleaving everyone. This was a great time and space at the end too, just to confirm these kills. The Ancient Rage was there. Maybe Evie could have blinked away at the last moment, but it wasn't going to be enough to live. So just good to confirm that and basically force ovimm to have to dome shield alone, and that never does anything good for your team.
And it was all those point fights too, right? I mean, the one point that you saw for ChromaSpace came off the defense, but on those point fights in particular, it was so much pressure that was able to be established by Rosvet so quickly, so early on. In that last fight, they had 3 ultimates left when they already had control of the point, and all of ChromaSpace were just fighting, trying to get back onto it. It was such a difficult position. They were able to do it so much more economically, it felt like, in the early game on those point fights. And then obviously you've got ultimates left over afterwards too. So really, really strong first map. But this is only map 1. We're heading on to map number 2, which I've just been told is Bright Marsh for those picks and bans.
Yeah, and wait, okay, ChromaSpace. I was going to say, ChromaSpace picking Bright Marsh, not too surprising. Looks like we have a 1-1 set. Very excited to go to game 3 now that ChromaSpace has locked this map in. Yeah, it's over, but no, ChromaSpace banning that Furia to start. Pretty common in EU. It's actually not as common in some of the other regions.
Sure.
I've noticed teams kind of just maybe lower priority, but Furia brings so much to the table for your team that you just can't really let it through. On the other side, Torvald getting rid of because it's an enabler, and if you want to get rid of a type of composition, you don't get rid of the things that he pockets, you get rid of the source.
And make sure you can't set that up. Another ROM ban coming out as well, but this time the Jenos take it off the table, and I think after the game we saw that makes a ton of sense to me right away. Plus, I love this. ChromaSpace are going to take that Bomb King right away this time. Last time they prioritized the Barik, I think it was first overall, and then instead kind of let that BK fall through the cracks. This time, that's not going to be the case. ChromaSpace picked that up right away.
And they kind of need to. It's so strong in this map because you can throw through the windows. You can't even hold those backline angles, like having a Viktor or something sitting in that window to spam. BK can just get you. You have to give it up completely. Go over Ruckus following, and that's not too surprising because those are two characters that play the roof of the point really, really well. Grover can sit up there and heal the people on the point and the people playing up in tree, and Ruckus can just use it to dive into the backline and be almost unstoppable.
Should be pretty potent for Rosvet, who are coming into this one with all the momentum. It'll be another con matchup, as well as the Inara here this time, taking care of some of those frontline duties here for him. And I imagine this time this con should be in a bit of a better situation, not having to worry about the Bomb King Androxus combination that was so difficult last time.
That, plus he's playing on a map that's a lot better for him. On Splitstone, yeah, okay, he controls Quarry if they manage to somehow kill the BK, push through the Quarry. Then you're looking up at high ground. You can't do anything. Khan won't be able to really accomplish much at that point. This map, all flat, a lot easier for him to push past and find targets for his Vortex Grip to hit.
Should be a bit more comfortable for him this time. Barik and Lian coming through for Rosvet, which makes sense. This Barik we saw prioritized by ChromaSpace pretty well last time. Go ahead and get that front line established. Doesn't really hurt much there. Along with that Lian, and then a Vivian coming through for ChromaSpace, paired up with the Ying they select as their support towards the end. A lot of the times when Furia and Jenos are off the table, you can kind of wait towards the end to pick them up. Not as much pressure to rush.
Yeah, it's not as important. I mean, Rosvet thinks that Grover is important enough to take it. Having that defensive reset ultimate that charges so quickly is pretty good against aggression. This is, I was actually going to say, Inara Ying screams Grohk to me, but BK screams no. I mean, playing Grohk into BK is very, very difficult, but if Rosvet thinks they can protect them enough, they have two reset ultimates. So their tanks are going to be so protected if they get aggressive on Chroma.
Gonna be tough to get past that front line. Game number 2. We're on to Bright Marsh. Dave, take it away.
And this is a map that Finch and Krez think we can just go ahead and move on to game number 3. That's a lot due to the fact that ChromaSpace has found lots of success on Bright Marsh throughout their careers here. They took down District 69, the juggernauts maybe in Europe, on Bright Marsh. Are you thinking we're just glossing over this one, moving on to another game?
Realistically, it should be. Again, as was mentioned, like Grohk into Bomb King is going to be a difficult matchup. Ovimm has something about this map that no matter what team he's playing on, they're just monsters on it. And that's not just, oh, they were able to beat District 69 on it and they're the only team that's taken a map so far. It's like, no, they have beaten consistently at LAN PPL teams on Bright Marsh. Like, this is the ChromaSpace map. This is the ovimm map, honestly, when it comes down to it. Anyone on a team with him will win this map guaranteed almost every single time.
Is that the Gore guarantee?
And that's why I had to say almost, because sometimes things slip away. You never know.
Sure.
But do know that they're heavily favored because it's Bright Marsh.
Well, I look for this Grohk, despite fighting into the Bomb King, to have a big impact on this one. We saw a very similar playstyle to what I'm seeing out of this Grohk to already start off out of the Sky. We saw the kind of that healing hybrid Sky loaded in on Bright Marsh. They just sit behind this point tank, drop down some healing, supplement some damage in the meantime as well. And so far, it's working out for Rosvet as they've got themselves 45% on the point, but unfortunately enough damage returned, as well as a well-placed wall is going to move ChromaSpace right back in. No kills just yet, but some good damage being poured out, and Grohk doing most of it so far, 2,000 more than anyone else. Madaarra capitalizes on a low health con. Coireal on the con for a second time. He's going to fall first off here. The next front line still in some trouble for ChromaSpace. Rosvet, I'm not sure they're going to have anything to say about this one. That's going to be point number 1 on the board.
Yeah, ovimm's been zoned this entire time, and it's just been off of exactly what you want your Grohk to do. There's a Ying clone nearby, there's a Warder's Field nearby. Cool, I'm just going to go ahead and bounce all of my damage off of you and lock you down. Doesn't matter if he gets a kill, you never feel safe to get aggressive into it. And when you finally feel like you might be able to win a fight, you get wiped.
Wow, that is a Grohk ultimate, and then a whole lot of damage to follow up, and that moves Rosvet within striking distance. And already, I mean, you're not expecting this kind of 2 minutes into this round. You're already at the point now, if you're ChromaSpace, where you have to decide if you want to even bother dropping down off that high ground. Vivian looking like she's going to elect to no. Ying staying up high as well, with Bomb King and the two front lines are going to end up dropping down.
Well, right now it's good damage. I don't get to say this enough, mainly because Imani's not played as often as she used to be, and when I say as she used to be, I mean that first like month of competitive, but this kind of screams like Bulldozer to me. I think I kind of want Bulldozer here in this game. I think it'd be really helpful.
Well, ChromaSpace is going to use the ultimates to try to stall out anything here, but they have not gotten squat on the kill feed for him just yet. Haise cleans up another kill onto Adam, who did attempt to drop down and fight on this one. Ovimm is going to backpedal his way away from that dome shield. Vivian still firing high up above the fight here. Ethereal utilizing those rocket boots to give him some shielding. Coireal falls for, you know, his 4th or 5th time so far this game. Another rough game to be a frontliner for ChromaSpace. Gore, I'm not sure they have any kills on the board. I don't think I've seen a single one come through just yet. There was a single kill for neppö onto Madaarra. Other than that, everyone else is killless and deathless for PACCBET.
If I'm ChromaSpace, I'm having an existential crisis right now.
I'm nervous.
This is our map. Like this is the whole thing. This is what we have guaranteed every time. And it's falling apart right now. Haise is 4-0-5, and it's weird to think that he has like such a clean slash line, and it's kind of the secondary as far as what we were concerned with, because he's only 1,000 damage behind, but Dafit is getting so much impactful damage, has his ult coming into this as well. Tempest is going to be a huge swing for them. Whenever they use it, it doesn't even have to be at the very beginning, and it's 60%, give or take. There for the Grover having Whirlwind available, it's just 2 heals on top of each other. It's so difficult to overcome. ChromaSpace are going to have to pick it up.
They're opting for a bit of a different route here. They have the Grohk ultimate to maybe start off this fight, as Rosvet are going to move themselves to the right-hand side of this map, and they did get 21%, and that's going to resume climbing here. So that's the Grohk ultimate now down. Didn't find a lot of value for it this time, except for maybe some positional advantage.
Being able to zone out the entire team, though, is huge. But that kill goes on to Dafit instead of for Dafit. So that's a good way for ChromaSpace to get in here, along with the King Bomb.
Adam is not going to find anything for that one. Detonates it and doesn't find any damage or a stun. neppö, though, moves himself forward, gets the kill onto Ethereal. So really for the first time this game, we've seen Rosvet, rather, not on the offensive here on these mid-fights, with ChromaSpace now kind of bearing down. This is where you want to be. You have the fast cap. Make it take as long as possible for Rosvet to get back in range.
And I mean, just keep doing this. If you're Adam, just keep on rolling forward. Finally gets taken down, but that was massive amounts of damage, sometimes hitting 3 people of the time. It's perfect for a Bomb King. And this is why, again, this is one of his better maps to be able to come through. I love seeing him on this map, and he plays well here. So far, he's been falling maybe a little flat compared to what you would expect, but that kind of play, if you can get another run like that for Adam, is exactly what you need to tie this up.
Sure, it's been quiet up to this point. Granted, the rest of his team hasn't been able to get much of anything going, but suddenly, Rosvet again, they move forward, try to contest this payload where it's at, meet it on its own level ground. And they can't do that at all. That's a couple kills for the Bomb King, with ethèreal soon to fall, and kind of the opposite of what we saw in Splitstone Quarry. So much presence out of the damage dealers for ChromaSpace starting off this second push.
They have a good draft for it. Vivian is maybe a little bit weaker, but I think she works well into the draft that comes through. Like, she's not necessarily my top pick on Brightmarsh, but the fact that you have her working super well with this Bomb King and flowing very well, it's made it much easier to push this payload forward. She has good angles. Once her shield's off cooldown, it literally will cover the window for her, so she'll be perfectly safe in here for a little bit. And the Sentinels are still available to her to be able to be popped and give that extra bonus damage.
Where there's a distinct ultimate advantage here for Rosvet. They have 4 ready, soon to be 5, as Haise is going to charge up that Enlightenment very quickly. ChromaSpace still working on a few. Sentinels are popped now from neppö to try to give him a little extra damage. Nobody's identified this Bomb King just yet. He is free swinging through. Whirlwind is going to top off some of those health bars for Rosvet. Still a minute left. So if you have to use your ultimates now, you're maybe sad later on when you have to try to defend. ethèreal's going to get the kill on ovimm, and that is ChromaSpace's key to back themselves up.
It's just going to buy him a little bit of space, though. I mean, that's final corner area. Coireal wants to go for it. You do not use an overpower at the end of the round like that unless you are absolutely sure you are going to tie this up. And with 2 kills, they're definitely going to get back to this.
Yeah, and this is close. That is a flurry of kills. A triple kill from Adam is going to knock everyone from Rosvet down. Madaarra, last man standing. No contest from anybody on the high ground. Haise did slide on through at the end there, but suddenly this game is tied in just as convincing fashion as Rosvet was able to do it. ChromaSpace pushed this one through.
Couple of snags for him at the end, and again, you don't use an overpower unless you are very sure of what you are about to commit to. You use that at the end of the round, you don't get the tie game here, and it's a 3-1. All of a sudden, you're looking at this next point fight as a very drastically different game. But it was huge. Biggest of all, I think, for Adam. But neppö as well went from, what, 1-1 to now 6-1. So he's been able to pick up a lot of kills. Adam's now 6-3. So kind of flipping over that first round on its head. And, again, it's the focus specifically from Adam, killing off turrets a lot, even though there's no bulldozer picked up. ethèreal hasn't been able to leave those around for very long. I think Adam's had a really good focus to deal with this Barik and stop his healing from being as potent.
Yeah, all 11 of that. neppö's affected kills have come on his current life, so he's going to be able to extend that streak a little bit further. Poppy Bomb is going to knock ethèreal out of his dome shield and just save his life for a little bit. So he is still alive, if nothing else, but that's Grohk ultimate expended first off this time around as well. Adam has found himself a nice little corner over there. ethèreal locked up, rocket boots out. Nobody dead just yet, but Rosvet have found themselves 60% on the point. ChromaSpace suddenly is going to move themselves to the left. Be careful. Haise can turn around some good damage. That's a great example there. Adam, the first death in this mid-fight. That's going to be a Hexafire around the backside. That opens up some space here for Rosvet. 3 members down, make it 4 for ChromaSpace. neppö is going to be the 5th and final to fall, and Rosvet, they are pushing for the win.
Now, normally that's a bad fight to lose, period. You just don't want to end up getting wiped at all in the game, ideally. But they were already at 80% when you lose 3 members. Like, there was almost no focus, or maybe no pressure on the point there. Bomb King is able to deal a lot of damage to that Barik to make him kind of second guess his presence on the objective.
Yeah.
But nothing ever stopped him. No one ever moved in to take his place. In fact, the only time ovimm was there, he was taking just as much damage back, so he had to fall away. There was just a lot of lapse, I want to say, from ChromaSpace in what should have been solid control.
So much damage from Dafit this game, and you could tell a different kind of mindset going into that mid-fight, where they use the ultimate, the Grohk ultimate, to just kind of win that fight right towards the middle instead of sending him to the right. He died immediately in the second mid-fight, but stayed alive throughout most of this one. And ChromaSpace, like dominoes, starting to tumble down. The unbeatables on Brightmarsh score, Miser. This one's not looking great for him.
And honestly, if I'm going to point anything out, it has to be Bomb King, because round 2 he went huge. This round, he held onto his ult for so long, he just used it and got nothing out of it. So much of what's been going on has been huge. The fact that Coireal dies there for what should have been a free kill is huge for PACCBET.
Yeah, down goes Khan. That's a seismic crash that does drop down. ethèreal and Madaarra, both front lines cleaned up from Rosvet. but a minute left, Goremizer. 5%, 18%, 19, 11, and 56 on the ultimates for ChromaSpace. None available. You're going to have the Dome Shield, Hexafire, and soon to be Grohk's ultimate as well to maybe push this one in.
And he just used that Tempest like 30 seconds ago. That's how fast he's getting it. That's how much damage Dafit is doing, and even when they try to lock him down, it's not been enough. And he's going to be cresting that 100% right now. And they have 3 ults. The Dome Shield's going to come down.
It is a dangerous spot to be ovimm right now. He's going to get some healing and move himself right back through, but he falls. Tempest starting to roll through. Nobody in range to contest. Rosvet, they take it away from ChromaSpace.
They just played better. Like there's no way to crack that shell. They just played better.
You know when that one was doomed is when we introed the game with how good ChromaSpace is on Brightmarsh. The composition played perfectly there for Rosvet.
I mean, the Grohk worked well, and that was like the big question mark coming into it. Kresnik had pointed it out, where it's just like, you're playing Grohk in a Bomb King. How well is that going to work? Like, if you don't protect him, he's dead so much of the time, but he had a nice little barrier around him. He was able to pretty much deal with ovimm exclusively that game, then hit his ult whenever he needed to get aggressive. It enabled the team so much. I think the Grohk was the perfect pick.
Well, we saw a moment where Bomb King did have an impact, and then immediately went away for the final 2 points. We thought we were going to go into Game 3 tied up at 1. Instead, we're moving on to Game 3 with Rosvet up 2-0. Can they take the whole set? Find out after this.
Well, game number 2 has come and gone. And really, ChromaSpace barely were able to show us any signs of life. They had one nice point cap into an actual payload push, but other than that, that was all Rosvet there on that second Brightmarsh map. Still Finch here, I'm joined by Kresnik. And yet again, it felt like a whole lot of things went wrong for them in this game, but I do think in particular, this Grohk had a really, really strong impact here in this map. Quite obviously, had a hard time getting to him. That's the good things that went right on Rosvet. But on the other side, Coireal has struggled. This has not been his set at all.
I mean, he had 10,000 damage less than the other healer at the start of the round. It was a snowbally round, but everyone else was keeping up, and he was really struggling there. It's just, I think, tough for him to be able to fight into the composition that they had with all that pressure. I gotta say, I think that game was won and lost on those ultimates that were being spent by Rosvet. The double reset is so impactful for keeping your team alive. We saw it. Dafit was having an ultimate every fight. FOBUZ was having an ult every fight, basically keeping everyone up. And then keeping Dafit on the objective was, I think, a huge part of it, keeping that point fight so sided towards Rosvet. They kept trying to rotate people to deal with them. The only time that ChromaSpace won a mid was when Dafit wasn't contesting the point, wasn't fighting ovimm, wasn't burning down the health bar.
Yeah, I think he started that fight off with the ultimate kind of off to the side, and he does get some good zone control off of it, but doesn't end up getting that same point position that was so dominant earlier on, and then would later on have it as well with that Grohk, man. Really did end up being a lot of the problems there for them. And I don't know, man, we saw one good Bomb King sequence, I felt like, as well. I don't know if they got a ton of value out of that pick the way that they would have liked. He was able to get into some decent positioning, but I think about that last point fight they got where the Barik was under constant siege from the Bomb King, but not to the point where he had to leave the point at all, right? He was pretty comfortable.
Yeah, the King Bombs also weren't really connecting either. I think that was honestly just heads-up play from Rosvet, though, because anytime he wanted to come in with the King Bomb, they were all way back waiting for it to come in, and a good player knows you can't commit with a King Bomb in that position. That's just a suicide run at that point.
It's a difficult matchup, and in most of those times, we saw that's exactly how it ended up going. That Bomb King was not able to find nearly as much value as I think they would have liked to have in that situation. So far, Rosvet, man, they have shown up and looked absolutely ready to play. They're now up 2-0, and it's actually ChromaSpace with their backs up against the wall. I mean, they just lost Brightmarsh, which we talked about in so many cases, been their map pick, even up against the best of the best, and they couldn't make it work for them this time. So now he's moving to Shattered Desert. They have got to find something to turn this around.
And this is a good attempt at it, too. It's a very different style of map from Brightmarsh, very open, very heavy on rotating around the enemy team. So if they think they can play together better than Rosvet, then this would be a good choice. But I feel like they've kind of gotten out-teamed the last 2 games. So bringing them to a map where you have to be kind of playing as this rotating death ball, I don't know if it's going to be the best choice. It could also just be a DM fest. They could just say, look, we think we're better than you. We're just going to pick this map where we can out-aim you. Could work for that, too.
Well, we're going to have to see Coireal on something different here this time, right? I think he's been on the con for the first 2 maps, and it has not particularly worked. And maybe that's a bit of, get his head right onto something else, right, and see if they can maybe find something that'll work for them. And Furia, not a bad thing to find when that one can make it through. The Rom and Torvald have been banned by Rosvet all game long, all set long, and that means the Furia slips through.
And I think it's smart for first pick to do that, because Furia is absolutely first pickable with everything she brings to your team. Burst healing, good damage, go button with the inflame. It's a lot to have, so banning it when your first pick was almost kind of weird.
It is a bit,
You were taking it away from yourselves more or less at that point. I think Rosvet have a great answer, though. Ruckus, BK. BK might struggle in the range department, but Ruckus is one of the premier off-tanks on Shadow Desert.
He is. We saw him taking some nice fights in that last map. Maybe that last one against the Vivian didn't quite work out for him the way he wanted, but there was some good ones for that Ruckus last time. They'll pair that with that bomb, or with the Barik now as well, to handle some of those frontline responsibilities, and BK for plenty of damage. And on the other side for Chroma, they're going to add in this Viktor, and I think we did see the Viktor actually playing relatively well for ChromaSpace when they had it last time, unsurprisingly leading in damage as well, so I like them picking this back up. I think it's clearly comfort for him.
Yeah, I agree. It's also a character that's never really going to fall apart for you.
Yeah.
It's Viktor.
He's going to do its job.
He shoot gun, he throw nade, he do damage. That's basically all you're going to hope for him. He's always going to bring that to the table. But a triple DPS comp actually coming up for them, and this must be why they went to a map like this. They wanted to go to something where they can just play their distance, poke them out, and not let Rosvet cross that gap.
Whoa.
Koga's not a weird pick, but I don't know how I like it into this composition. You can't play Koga into burst damage. That's the biggest thing. And Lian and Maeve on the other side, that's going to be really tough for Koga.
You're worried just Koga's going to get blown up too often, who tries to get to the back.
He'll live through his dashes.
Yes, that'll happen. He'll be able to dash on in, and that should be just about it. We'll see how this one goes, though. It's ChromaSpace's last opportunity, or can Rosvet put it to bed? Let's find out with game number 3.
Yeah, the Koga can dash in, but what do you do once you dash in is the question. At that point, you pray. You've used your energy, you pray that you're still alive. This is the last chance for ChromaSpace to grab a win here, and then they'll have to do it again, and then again after that. Backs against the wall, need 3 straight to take this set over Rosvet. They're going to pull out the triple DPS, and Gore, I do have to say, it did surprise me. Not only that Viktor has been picked essentially a quarter of the games here in EU and the PPC. He's won 0% of those quarter of the games he's been picked in, but also Furia has a 33% win rate and an 85% pick ban rate. I'm surprised that's not a little bit higher.
I mean, it's interesting to see how often she, I guess, doesn't make it through, how much she applies to a team, how much she gives to a team, and how amazing it is. Again, just look at the ult. Here's move speed, here's damage amp. That's perfect. That's all I need, let alone the fact that she heals on top of it and does decent damage. But the fact that she's not winning a lot means teams know how to handle her pretty well. Not to see if Rosvet are on that list of teams.
Used its dashes, and Dafit grabs the kill, so there's the answer to my question. You dash in, then what do? You grab a kill onto Ovimm, who's pivoted off that front line. Plays the Lian this time around. Double kill for the Bomb King, double kill for the Viktor, but it's Rosvet that are in control of this mid-fight before ChromaSpace knocked down just a couple, but that Barik is still alive. That's the important thing to look at. We're still tied a minute and a half into this game.
Honestly, the thing that blows my mind the most about this game is the fact that there isn't an Evie and she wasn't banned away. This is like one of the maps. Maeve and Evie were so dominant here, and we saw them often work in tandem with each other.
Right.
And the fact that you've gone Koga, granted I understand the hit scan presence wanted, but going Koga over the Evie is definitely going to be an interesting choice, and we'll have to see how that affects them as the game has gone on. So far, I would say it's coming out equal. It's not necessarily worse or better, but Adam is going to be more or less uncontested on some of these rotations.
Yeah, Adam on that Maeve is going to look to put his stamp on this one. Rosvet lose a couple members, but that Barik is healthy enough to keep him on the point, but neppö on the Viktor starting to find his aim, and that's Koga dashing his way backwards. Ovimm slides on through, grabs the final shot, and this should be what feels like a good capture for ChromaSpace. Madaarra maybe moving right back through. Madaarra does find death. That's a good wall to lock them off, and it's not going to fall in time. Well played by ChromaSpace to grab point number 1.
The wall giveth and the wall taketh away. You miss your Lian ult, but you get the point. Honestly, I take that trade almost any set of the day. That's perfect for you. You keep going. Ovimm, as well, has made this rotation again. He's, in my mind, Ovimm is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Inara player to watch. Yep. And so it's interesting in a team with Inara to see him not playing it, even though Coireal is definitely more, I want to say, tank-oriented. He's made a good switch here for Ovimm onto this Lian. And that damage is going to come in handy so often for them if he can keep it going at the rate that it's been. Specifically with dealing with the Koga, but also with the Bomb King, with the Barik. I mean, keeping them at range and having such a high burst potential is a lot.
Good shots from neppö. Is going to grab him a double, and now he's rampaging so far in this game. It's the power of the Viktor. 7 in a row. 7 of those 10 streaks are all kills for him. And, I mean, this is, I guess, why teams still feel comfortable despite the poor win rate. And poor is maybe an understatement. He literally has not won any of the games we broadcasted. This is why people still feel comfortable going to this champion because of what he provides.
I mean, this is even without an Inflame being able to come through, right? This is just base Viktor, let alone what's going to happen when they have that Inflame not only available since it is, but when they decide to pop it, which is going to be now.
This is where ChromaSpace are going to look to try to get this one rolling through. It's very close. If anyone from Rosvet goes down, suddenly this is maybe a losing fight. That is Barik, very low off to the side there. Enlightenment, remember, you're not immune anymore when you pop your ultimate, Ovimm, and Dafit and Haise combined for a couple of kills. All three of the damage dealers are down. Bomb King, though, is a return kill, but ChromaSpace realizing they don't have the presence, they're going to finally get staggered out. This is a great stagger onto NELUBKA. It's going to go back to base for 5 or so seconds, plus the travel time back, and that's a good defense from PACCBET.
All right. I'm gonna try to break this one down for you. I think I understand Furia's win rate now.
Okay.
You get so overconfident with that ult because it gives you so much that you maybe bite off more than you can chew. That was an Inflame fight that was just lost by ChromaSpace, something that we used to say was not impossible, but very improbable. It doesn't always happen that way. But you get too aggressive, especially on a map like this, and it doesn't matter if you have the Inflame, you're going to get melted down and shredded. They kind of felt that.
Oh, illusory rift for Rosvet is going to decide whether or not the defense is successful or not, and as I literally finish my sentence, it is, and tends to happen in a triple DPS comp when you lose your front line at the beginning of an overtime. Coireal falls to 0-4 so far on this game. I guess maybe you could make the argument that Furia is kind of first pick worthy, and a lot of the teams that are picking first are the ones that are losing in some of these sets, so maybe that's why her win rate is a little bit lower.
I also, and like you also have to, I think, look at it as, you know, in week 1 we took out 4 teams, and week 2 we took out another 4 teams. Like, there's something to be said of what teams are still playing her, which, you know, some of which we won't be seeing here in the group stage anymore since they didn't make it. And of course, it does depend on whose hands they're in. NELUBKA is in that tier of player that I would give it as, okay, yeah, this is going to be game-changing. It's going to make it perfect for the team.
Yeah.
But it just hasn't been hitting as hard. Granted, now it's at 90%. I expect this round to use it around the objective, win a huge fight, and then just coast into the next. Yeah,
especially when you compare it with like a Midnight. We haven't really seen those used in tandem all that effectively just yet. Haise and Madaarra combined for the first 2 kills for Rosvet. Tied up at 1 here, but 30%. neppö's going to cancel his ultimate, as you point out, but charge it very quickly on that Viktor. They finally found an answer. He was on a 7 or so kill streak there for a minute. They were able to turn around some good damage, but at 66, climbing up to 72% now for Rosvet. The Inflame is maybe going to try to turn things around.
I mean, they're going to try to at least get back in there, and that's going to be 2 clean kills for him to get back onto the objective, at least get a touch and stall it at 93. And finally, that barrage comes through. The reason I was upset about it was that was the 2nd time in a row he had used it, canceled it. He just used it as the presence, maybe clear some people off of him and being able to come through.
Thank God.
Adium almost trades away his life there. If FOBUZ gets that, that's so big.
Yeah, that would have been nuts. The body blocks from the clone were enough to maybe make it interesting, but Adium gets out alive, turns around, finds the good shots onto Dafit as well. Still no point capture. This one's been long. 93% for Rosvet, 93% for ChromaSpace, but the more recent kills have been blue. Dome Shield drops down. 2 frontliners still contesting for Rosvet. Overtime actually starts for Rosvet here. So how quickly are you able to reinforce yourself becomes the question. Not quickly enough maybe with Madaarra and FOBUZ going down, and if Barik falls as well, and Ethereal does, this one's not looking great. That's 3 kills for Ovimm in the final stages of this mid-fight. That's going to be point number 2 for Chroma.
And Ovimm's really good at Lian.
It's kind of popping off, huh?
And that makes the difference there. I think you look at that Maeve coming around the corner. Madaarra is 1 hit away, and you miss 2 pairs of daggers. You have Viktor, maybe not, like, he's hitting really hard. He's doing a ton of damage, but it's not been consistent at the end of that round, or at the end of that point. It wasn't all there. It was essentially all Ovimm saying, no, 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 no.
Yep.
We win this one. We are not dropping at 93%. We are going to hold on to it. And keeping Coireal alive throughout that. A triple kill always sets your team up for success. And most times, I should say. A little asterisk on that
I'm
one.
sure there's a time where somebody gets a triple or
kill
something,
and then their team like loses. Maybe it's like a back door when something goes on, but in a moment like that, that triple kill is absolutely what helps seal the deal.
The game changing there, and a team that did drop it at 93% is Rosvet. They had all control of that point to start off that round, and then got pushed off thanks to good Inflame from ChromaSpace, and were never able to regain control. And that's another one started up here, and Adium moves forward, finds the kill onto the Bomb King, who's had a quiet round so far. On Shattered Desert, one final barrage is maybe all he needs, but if nothing else, it's enough to make Ethereal think twice about poking his head out here. Barik's health bar very low. Rocket Boots hard to lock him down. Payload still moving in. Haise, Poppy Bombs forward, Poppy Bombs to death. That's going to be Madaarra up to the sky. Everyone from ChromaSpace falling here. And this is going to be another successful conversion from ChromaSpace. And they move within one of taking this map.
You know who we talked about at the beginning of this game and I haven't seen anything really big from since? That Koga. He got first blood and yeah.
We have a way of doing that, right? We're like, no way this Koga is successful, moves in, gets a kill, and then immediately dies.
He's 6, 8, and 9 though. He has his ult available. Like, I want to feel more impact from Dafit though. That's I think the biggest issue is obviously he's doing something, right? There's no way to argue against that. It's just where is that coming forward with it? He has his Tenacious 3, so as long, or Tenacious 5, I should say, 300 every time he activates that dash, as well as generating ammo. He is consistently going to be able to stick to you, stay alive, and shoot you really well, which makes his title Gun Wizard even more applicable here.
Sure.
But I haven't really seen anything big from him the last couple of rounds. I think that first rotation kind of shows your cards, right? Everyone knows what you're going to be looking for now.
Just flanking through. Dafit did find some good damage, but so many people suddenly starting to turn around and look at him. Ultimate ticks away, maybe one tick of damage, but saves his life. Midnight drop down. ChromaSpace find the first kill in this engagement thanks to Madaarra, and Haise answers with another one onto Coireal. 2 down for ChromaSpace. Control of the point as well over to ChromaSpace as everyone from ChromaSpace either cleaned up or backed off. Now with fast cap, this one looks very difficult for Blue to retake control.
Dafit, if anything, it doesn't matter that he didn't get any kills off of that flank. What matters is how many people were, 1, looking at him, which was 3 pairs of eyes, and 2, no longer paying any attention to the objective where Coireal was getting melted. As long as everyone's eyes are on this Koga because they're scared of getting melted, that opens up the rest of your team, specifically that Bomb King, to try and kill him off. Made it so ovimm wasn't able to have as big of an impact on the fight, and that was probably the biggest thing, pulling that Lian away because she's been huge the last 2.
What is very important to realize, and just kind of something to keep in mind, that if ChromaSpace defend, the game is not over. You have to win on an offensive move. ChromaSpace can tie the game, but if ChromaSpace are able to defend successfully, we'll move back to another mid-fight at 3-2. So far, ChromaSpace feeling comfortable on this defensive side. A few ultimates starting to charge as well. Adium finding some good picks. Just a moment ago, I think we saw kind of what we expected out of that Koga. We haven't been able to follow along with him all that much because it's been a rough game, but you know, he used his energy, and then he was just trying to duel with that Lian, and it didn't work out.
And we got literally the best of both worlds, right? One, he goes back there, has his ult, and it saves his life. One, he goes back there, doesn't have his ult, dies. I think there's just a lot of moments where the trade isn't going to go in his favor. That was something Kresnik mentioned on the desk. It's something we talked about earlier, but Koga doesn't play well into burst damage. That heal, it's only 300. Lian laughs at that amount of damage when it comes down to it, so you have to have some big outplay potential to be able to turn that one on its head. And unless one of them, him or Haise, finds a huge ult, I don't know that this payload's getting very far.
Yeah, this is kind of that line in the sand here on Shattered Desert where if teams can make the stand, it becomes very difficult to kind of move through. There are lots of kind of alleys once that payload moves back around the corner, but right here, it's more like ChromaSpace are fighting into a lot of those alleys instead of using them to their advantage. They're able to lock down Coireal, and 3 members are back and respawning, but with 30 seconds left, this one maybe is looking like another overtime situation, and I think well fought there by ChromaSpace to back off. If any more of them got staggered, gets to be very difficult. 5 ultimates ready for Blue, 4.5 ready for ChromaSpace here. What do they choose to spend becomes the question. Barrage maybe opens things up.
It's good damage onto Madaarra immediately too, so forces out that flex and that flank pressure that they had on the other side. They keep overtime going. Dome Shield's ready. I don't know if you want to commit it though.
Nice.
You lost Madaarra.
That's a good double kill there from Adium to keep this payload from moving much further forward, and unable to finish off the triple. Instead, Coireal does the final bit of damage there, and once Ethereal goes down, which should be any moment here, this overtime will expire. That's going to leave this one still at a 3-2, so still half fast cap now for ChromaSpace moving into this next one. The only ultimate expended is that barrage.
Maeve is really good.
Sorry?
Maeve's really good.
Yeah, she's all right.
That's just a lot of good damage comes through. Granted, it's interesting to see that. You look at it, and in my eyes, I see a lot of good burst damage that comes through. It hurts Haise, it hurts Dafit, it even hurts Ethereal. Then she's 4th on the damage charts. Like, you just have so many other people doing just as much, if not better, damage. But she does it all in a quick succession.
I think it's, you know, it's that, is it the wand or the wizard kind of conversation, right? I mean, maybe she's like a wand that at the highest level can be so impactful, but if the wizard isn't up to the standards of the wand, you know, it's not going to be, I think she has a very technical kit that requires a lot of skill to play at the highest level, right?
What, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, he gets his wand and his hair like flows back, like that's the moment when you pick the Maeve and you know what you're doing.
Well, Adium might be Harry Potter here in this case. He's found some good kills and double-digit deaths on that Maeve, but double-digit kills as well, so still feeling that impact. Coireal, the only front line in this triple DPS composition, has now fallen, and that's going to give Rosvet control. Ovimm's going to try to stay alive, although Haise is very low as well. Dafit wrapping around the corner, finds a low health Lian, but FOBUZ cleans up that one. Haise falls shortly after. Rosvet very close to maybe tying this one up. Madaarra shields himself behind the pillars, not able to get the final bit of damage as Adium rounds around that corner, finds the kill onto the Ruckus. Overtime beginning, overtime expiring. I'm not sure Coireal's going to be able to move his way in. He is, but Dafit trades out a kill onto Adium now with Ethereal going toe-to-toe. NELUBKA, double kill on the Furia as ChromaSpace regain control of the mid.
And that's why those statues are so important. Even if you're Inara, she's slower than anybody else in the world. But as long as you can kite around those statues, you can get enough time and enough healing to keep yourself alive in this and maybe keep your team alive in this. They're about to match up to that 99%.
Well, the only ultimate in this game right now is that barrage, and it's going to be dropped down in flames, soon to be there for ChromaSpace. Could be used to seal up this game. 99% for Rosvet. There are the fire wings sprouted. neppö finds the kill. Adium's going to move around the corner. Double kill for the Viktor. NELUBKA finds the final shots as well. Haise around the corner. No good. ChromaSpace, they take the win and keep themselves in the set.
So one of the things we had talked about going into that map, they had mentioned it on the desk, is that map is very much oriented on kind of rotations. Yeah. It's a circus. A lot of merry-go-rounds that go all along with it, and it's kind of who can out-rotate the other. And when it came down to it, Maeve, as well as the Viktor, were making more impactful flanks than we got to see out of the Koga. And honestly, my eyes probably on that Maeve more than anything because that hit really hard, really fast, and dealt maybe more damage than they were expecting.
Was Koga Dafit for Rosvet there?
No, it was not Dafit.
It was not Dafit. Game 4, right after this.
Can't believe I went along with that.
Takes Shattered, Desert, Furia, and a triple DPS composition, but ChromaSpace finally are indeed able to get it done, find at least one map win, and keep this set alive so they can try and take down Rosvet. Still Finch here, still joined by Kresnik on the desk, the Consortium of Knowledge, whatever it is that you'd like to call it. And in that last game, I really do think that switch up in strategy helped out a lot, didn't it? Especially that Maeve in particular. She had a ton of pressure.
Yeah, as Adium woke up as the game went on, it got a lot better. Early, the kill feed was literally just Dafit killing Adium over and over. That's all it was at the start. I think that was what most of Dafit's kills were. But as Adium kind of relearned the matchup, you don't see Koga too much in the EU. Learning that a little bit more made it a lot easier, and then he kind of woke up and was always in the backline. The lowest of the 3 DPS's damage, but I think the highest impact on the game overall.
Did have a pretty tremendous impact there in that game. And you and I were talking coming into this match that if you were going to switch up to the triple DPS and take someone off tank, we'd have thought it might have been Coireal, right? Because just based on the set that he had up until that point. But it was ovimm instead that they took off, and I believe they put him onto that Lian. And really it ended up working out for them here in this game. They really looked like they had Rosvet a bit confused about where to go in this map.
Yeah, I think them being able to put more resources into Coireal helped a lot too. Having that Furia pocketing him and not having to worry about 2 different lanes, I think helped Coireal kind of shine a little bit more. I would definitely say if I have one tank struggling, one tank not, I definitely want to be putting the tank that's doing a little better on the hardest, arguably, role for a tank.
It did seem like they gave him more responsibility, right? Yeah.
But they were able to pour more resources into him and had more, I guess, self-sustaining DPSing their side or DPSs that can choose their fights a little more. And neppö and ovimm, I think, did fantastic at not taking away too much from that Inara and not letting the Furia focus too much on them and just winning their 1v1s on the side.
They did. I think that shows a good amount of trust, too, right? I mean, this is a hugely important set within these group stages themselves to try and make it into the actual PPC. And despite having a relatively rough set up until now, those 2 con games to start off were brutal. There's no other way to talk about it. They obviously trust him here in this match. They found something that worked for them and made that adjustment. The question is, though, is that the kind of adjustment that you can turn into 2 more wins in the after what we saw in that last map? It was very specific. They get the Furia. They're on Shattered Desert here this time. They're able to run that triple DPS composition into the Koga, but didn't quite work against them either. I just don't know if you can replicate that 2 more times.
Not every map is a triple DPS map, I guess, unless you're the team
Sure,
with the
unless you're
namesake of triple deeps. But I'm not sure how much practice Chroma has on that composition, so I don't know if they're going to be pulling it out on those other maps. The map we are going to, Serpent Beach, is a map that is a little bit better for it, so they might be able to do it again. But I think there's more counterplay here. There's just more cover for the tanks to duck into.
Yeah, there's more options to try and get away from all that additional damage. So on to Serpent Beach we go now for game number 4. And in that last map, kind of like I talked about, the Furia finally made it through. I'm really curious to see what it is that ChromaSpace choose to ban away.
I wouldn't be shocked to see them do the same ban rotation. Start with Furia. Furia doesn't mean you're locked into triple DPS. You can do basically anything. But Androxus banned instead. So I mean, they're not going to first pick the con, especially after the last couple games they had with it. But they still are leaving Furia open. And again, like I said, I think that's smart. It's first pickable. It probably will be first picked. It just brings so much to your team, and it's not going to be bad anywhere.
Yeah, Furia and ChromaSpace with that pick looked clearly comfortable last time, and they banned away the Jenos, right? So they don't have to worry about giving away like the Jenos BK combination we saw back in game 1 or something like that. But certainly the Bomb King's still going to be coming through here for ROSVET. They banned away the ROM and the Turbo every game so far. No real reason to switch that up here now. And they're going to pair him here with this Ruckus. So how you liking these first 2 for them?
It's fantastic for this map, I think. The BK might struggle a little bit more on mid because of the range, but once he's attacking, he can poppy up to the top with the Ruckus, potentially. That's 2 characters who can take that high ground, which is kind of a huge deal. Chroma probably feeling pretty good about the performance of Lian last game and the Inara performance, so getting both of those, which leaves them very open. They're still flexible in where they can go. They can play a second tank, they can put ovimm in that Inara, or they can have Coireal go single tank again with that Inara and play ovimm on Lian. This is a super flexible start for ChromaSpace.
It is. It's essentially the same draft that worked for them last game. So far, it is the same draft, right? It's just a question of are they going to pick up the Viktor and the Maeve, and it looks like no, they are going to have Coireal very likely go back to this con performance here.
Speaking of trust.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot of trust
Isn't it,
getting
though?
that. I do love this Buck, though. That's means they can put more resources into the con to help him sustain a little bit more. Buck doesn't really need a lot. He can run bulk up and kind of keep himself going, but one character that deals with that pretty well, I think, would be the Vivian on the other side.
Vivian should be able to chew that Buck up when he comes through. Plus this Grover. I'm already thinking back to that great Brightmark performance that we saw from this Grover early on too. So ROSVET, despite perhaps giving up this Furia, the Lian, the Inara that they're comfortable with, I think they've got a pretty strong draft to come into game number 4 with. Let's get it back down though to Dave and Gore to take it away.
Well, ROSVET still on set point here as we move down to Serpent Beach. Should be a good map for this Grover. Haven't seen, him in droves. It's been a lot of the Furia, the Jenos, the Ying. I like the Grover on this map. How you feeling about it?
I like him. I feel like he is one of the more solid picks. This is a map that's a little more awkward for him just because of how wide the fight is. So you're not always guaranteed to get the heal on everybody. But for the most part, he's going to be able to kind of encircle everyone and heal even a little further into the fight if they want to get aggressive. The thing that really is confusing me, and maybe I missed a memo, but just no Maeve, no Evie, like flanks that are normally huge on this map. Buck has become bigger.
It's in your spam folder.
But yeah, they're falling through. I guess I'll have to check that one.
Well, so much of Serpent Beach, especially on the push and the defense, I guess mainly on the push, it's kind of that verticality factor, right? And obviously that's a lot of why people discuss the Maeve and the Evie and Androxus banned out here on this map. Both teams, I guess, technically through the Bomb King, a well-placed Poppy Bomb, and the Buck with his leap will be able to maybe take some of that high ground. I'm not thrilled sending a Bomb King up alone, but first few kills of this game starting to roll through, and it's ChromaSpace who grab themselves the immediate advantage with ROSVET pushed on back. You lose everybody except your frontliner, so you're going to be able to contest a little bit longer. But Gore, they get themselves 72% on the point, so plenty of time to come back in and fight.
It's just the question of how well they can retake it, right? Their composition is great at retakes with ults, in my mind. I think Bomb King can maybe make a huge splash coming back into it, but you have to figure out the right pace to be able to approach this. And the right angles if you're going to be this Vivian, who right now is just pelting damage into the front line, but it kind of felt like it was going nowhere fast.
Yeah, and ChromaSpace are able to finally surpass ROSVET's point percentage.
They give it up.
ROSVET's right back through. neppö has to move himself back, and these are impactful deaths here. This could seal up the first point fight with how close Rosvet are to capturing it. Ovimm is able to shrug off a good bit of that damage from the Bomb King, but nobody is turning and returning any of it. Coireal throws up the shield, and that's enough to delay his death, but a double kill from the Ruckus. I think that seals up point number 1, and Rosvet off to a roaring start on Serpent Beach.
This is a very rare instance where I can say this, but in that case, it doesn't matter that you lost your healer because you were so far ahead and you had won the fight so handily. And now Madaarra is looking to potentially try and come and steal some high ground away.
Ruckus can take the high ground.
Because he wants to. He wants to get up there, or at least he wants to pull someone down with him. They're going to drop down. I'm not sure if Madaarra is going to be really excited about that one.
That's so much of the engagements are kind of retaking those sides. Bomb King is going to start to roll himself through here. Connects onto not much. Instead, it's ChromaSpace who are starting to flood the gates. Rosvet had a great start to this game, but a great start to the defense now for ChromaSpace. He's going to get this payload moving right back to where it started.
Now, my initial reaction is to call that Inflame super early, but at the same time, you're 2 minutes, like you have 2 minutes to charge that back.
It's
a relatively fast charging ult, so I love the idea of, you know what, we want to make sure we hold this defense. Let's hold it from the get-go. Let's not give them any ground to work with. Stop it as soon as we can. A minute 30 left. You're already at 50% again. You're going to have it for the next round no matter what. This is perfect for ChromaSpace.
That is sudden aggression from Rosvet. You see 5 members soaring high above off to the side, and you're scared if you're ChromaSpace, and for good reason. 3 members down with Buck and Ovimm, maybe the most recent to fall, and Adam does that. So Rosvet, despite being pushed back a little bit, Gore able to retake. They use the Whirlwind and the King Bomb, but not much else.
Madaarra just jumping around. High ground's going to be now in
Yeah, right.
control
It's a different kind of look at the Ruckus, right?
It's a nice, like, relapse, too. Like, for people who've been watching for a while, you'd remember Ruckus doing that. That was one of the reasons he was such a huge map on, or a pick on this map 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And so it's nice seeing him come back to that exact same reason being this strong. Unfortunately for Madaarra right now, it's not enough to save his life. He gets caught out. They're going to lose control of the high ground.
Well, finally, this Buck starting to flex his muscles a little bit as Adium finds a couple of kills, looking for maybe a third. Bulk up, keeps him alive, and that's the delayed 3 for the Buck on the defense with 30 seconds left. Great show there from ChromaSpace. Only the overpower is down, used but missed a moment ago. So it resets to 30, and he's going to get it close to 60%, maybe even 70, 75 by the time this round is over. Rosvet has some ultimate score if they maybe really want to try to get this one in, but the Dome Shield, Hexafire, King Bomb, that's a lot to spend.
It's a lot to spend. I don't know if I'd want to. I mean, you're not going to be purchasing a whole lot with it. I mean, it's going to be a few feet. You get a kill there, but it's a 1-for-1. I think overtime you hold it, but they're going to go for the Hexafire, and it's not even there. It is finding the kill.
Moves himself off to the side. Madaarra grabs a double, a delayed 3, moving in, maybe looking for the 4th of this push. Ethèreal grabs the kill. Ovimm back behind the payload here as Madaarra moves back. Overtime so quickly moving here at this point. Payload is going to move forward. Adium drops down. Bulk up, not enough. Push successful. And they use the Whirlwind, and they use the Hexafire.
You know, they had $100 to spend, and they spent 20 and got everything they needed with just that 20.
Right.
So really good on them to being, you know, economically smart.
Yeah, that's right.
But also a big Hexafire to be able to find that. I mean, just a little nudge to the left to get that last little bit of damage onto the Buck. But then immediately turning that into another kill is probably the biggest part. And Madaarra has made this look really good. Granted, you know, if you look at last game, maybe you're not in the perfect map in Game 3 for the Ruckus to shine as bright as it does on, like, Bright Marsh or as it is here. But that 8-2 and 5 slash line, being able to, not necessarily single-handedly, but be a big reason your team is now up 2 points and only 2 away from being able to close out this set. I mean, this Ruckus is paying off.
And you can see kind of the playstyle he's looking for there. He's got some damage reduction after using Advance, so he's felt free and clear to move himself forward and stay aggressive throughout this game. That's going to be another King Bomb rolling through from Haise this time. What's he able to find? Just back to the back of the point he goes as Madaarra is able to plug away some good damage. This is shades of the first point fight, though, Gore. They're not quite able to get to that 72%, but they've kind of got control of this left-hand side as ChromaSpace look to maybe try to retake.
I mean, they're trying to melt down the shield of Coireal here, which shouldn't be hard given what they have. These Sentinels are doing a ton of damage, and Dafit making up for last game by having a huge slash here.
Yeah, you can't face tank a Sentineled up Vivian, not for long at least, especially not if you're a Lian. 99% for Rosvet as Ovimm moves forward. Sentinels pouring down damage. Buck jumps himself in. pops that Buck Wild, looking for some damage, but Haise has plenty of it of his own. Adium, ovimm, both down. Dome Shield, maybe just to extend out this fight, and that is a perfect placement of that one. Coireal has to move in range. That's not enough. Overtime goes down. Rosvet go up 3-0.
You're never going to have a good game when you hear, here's the windup, and then the next kill you see in the feed is Buck on the receiving end.
He's just getting himself hyped to die, right?
Yeah, he's just, here's the windup for Rosvet.
For the other team.
As he comes through. That's just unfortunate for him, because I think that could be really impactful otherwise. It's just the scenario it comes out in, which is a little bit too late.
Oh,
now
nice.
you're facing a Hexafire once again, and this time he doesn't need to nudge to the left.
Oh, that's a dream scenario right there. You drop down 2 backliners, a triple kill for Madaarra. This Ruckus, it shows why it's first pick ban potential, especially over here in EU. What a play. Rosvet, they're knocking on the door of a 4-0.
I mean, they're coming around the last corner, and they're coming around the last corner fast. They don't have many ults available to them right now, though. King Bomb coming up, that's a great way to seal the deal and close out a map, though. It just depends on if he's able to find it. The last one we saw fell a little short, so he's going to have to make it big. Sentinels are going to be recharged and available here, but the King Bomb's charged up and going.
Inflame starts, Inflame ends. Seismic Crash not completed. Haise buys some space. That's an overpower completed. He Poppy Bombs to the side, is unable to win. That 1v1. NELUBKA, though, is down. That's no healing for ChromaSpace with these frontliners melting away. Double kill to seal it. Rosvet, they take the 3-1 in the 4-0 on Serpent Beach.
And a huge win over ChromaSpace for them as well. I mean, being able to find that again, and these groups, specifically Group A, the one we were watching, you had, I would argue, 4, maybe 5 teams that are competing for 3 spots. So a win like that is enough to really escalate you into that position to find some control. And I think a lot of it at the end, if that King Bomb has 2 more feet, it's a completely different game. Maybe he's the reason I'm talking to, like, big game-ending play. But Dafit played really well that game. Madaarra knocked it out of the park.
Unbelievable. 11 to an 11, 22 affected kills and only 2 deaths for Madaarra. And he's second highest damage on his team in a game where there was a lot of damage to be found. 61K for Dafit. Then 55,000 on that Buck, 56,000 on Haise, 57,000 on this Ruckus. In a composition where you're relying on Vivian and Bomb King to do a lot of the damage, they had plenty of support from these front lines.
And it's more remarkable in my eyes just because we saw such a drastic contrast the game before, right? That Ruckus wasn't able to do anywhere near as much. Granted, when you get, like, I would say a gift of a Hexafire like that when you're looking for your final point, that's, I mean, perfect. There's literally no other way to look at it. There were a lot of moments where he's in the right place, right time, but good reads, good mobility. Again, being able to go upwards is one of the reasons Ruckus was huge on this years ago before it got taken away from him. And now that it's back, it's going to be something I think is going to continue happening for the foreseeable future.
That's a dream scenario. You see all of those kills lined up for it, and it helps your team roll that one through. We're just getting started here today. We've got 5 more best of 5s for you. We're sticking in Europe. We got Flashpoint and Weird Flex after this break.